Are you going to listen or not?
Are you going to?
A majority of the fentanyl comes from Mexico. Is that true or false?
Let's say it's true, but Abby, here's where the problem comes in.
Our border to be open.
I'm not gaslighting.
Did Joe Biden let in tons and tons and tons? Well, tell that to the families of fentanyl families who have died.
No fentanyl comes from Venezuela.
It comes from the southern border to the border.
Through Mexico.
Hold on a second.
If your argument that killing us,
drugs do not come through Venezuela. Then why aren't you bombing Mexico?
So we closed the southern border, and that did a really good job. Stop. That's a ridiculous argument.
You stop.
No,
that's a ridiculous argument.
No, you're the one being...
To America.
Oh, I am going to argue that no fentanyl is coming from Venezuela.
Talk to the DEA.
No, you are wrong, and you are lying to the American people. You are part of the fabricating a narrative that doesn't exist.
Hold on a second.
Well, your day job is the View, so let's talk about fabricating.
And you have no day job. You just lost yours.
Harrison, you are wrong.
I'm not wrong.
Yes,
you're wrong. Because you just mixed up a whole bunch.
Glad you said that no one wants to defend drug traffickers, because that's what it seems that the Democratic Party is doing.
What about these Republicans? Did you listen to anything that was said in those clips?
Designated narco-terrorists that are coming to this country.
Did you listen to anything that was said?
Yes.
I think really says more about your commitment
for
to
drugs
talking points than it
eviscerating
says about your commitment.
So if you want to defend Maduro and the country of Venezuela.
Hello, everybody. Guys, what a surprise we have today. We got Bert from Sesame Street on the panel, along with evil Mr. Clean. Let's get into this segment and we'll talk about it.
There is new reporting from the Washington Post that suggests it may not have taken hours for the smoke to clear and for those two survivors to come into focus, despite Hegseth saying that it was hours later and he couldn't stick around long enough to see the end of that strike. This story is a little perplexing because this is September, by the way, September 2nd. It's been months now. And they can't seem to get their story straight. They can't seem to figure out what they're going to say. And I actually think that very first clip that we played of Marco Rubio, where he said initially that it was not going to the United States, it was going to Trinidad or some other country. And then he corrected himself to kind of get in line with what the administration was saying. That's one of the most telling to me. That they know that they need to have a particular narrative about this. Otherwise, there would be some questions that perhaps Congress would raise.
Well, the questions is that it's illegal if you know that there are survivors who are not a threat to anyone to then just go and kill them. So that's against the military law. So they have to make sure that that's not the narrative. They have to make sure that the ship isn't bombed, that they know that, and then they see people who are alive there, but like incapacitated. Not that they're there with a machine gun and trying to kill somebody else. You're not supposed to just kill the survivors. So they have to make sure that no one intentionally killed survivors. Now, what they're saying now is that the admiral, they are admitting, I believe, that there was a second strike, and that that was not Pete Hegseth's call. It was the admiral's call to say, uh-oh, the boat's not wiped out. There are people in there, and they can continue on forward. And so they're saying, look, it wasn't us. And look, you know what happens, Abby, especially when the camera comes on, right? Hegseth's on his old show, Fox and Friends, and he's like, I saw the whole thing. It's a human instinct to say, I was there, and I supervised it, and
he just lied.
Didn't he? I don't know. It's probably easy to tell whether
Arthur,
he was.
He should have watched the whole thing. He's the Secretary of Defense. This was the first strike against such a boat. Look, I think the reason they're having such a hard time keeping their narrative straight is because this is a completely fabricated narrative. When Marco Rubio said that this boat was heading towards Trinidad and Tobago, he was actually saying the truth. Most of the drugs that travel through Venezuela go through the Caribbean and end up in Europe. Most of the drugs that come to the United States come through the Pacific coast, up of Central America and Mexico. The fentanyl that is killing tens of thousands of Americans is coming through Mexico. But in order for them to justify what they are doing in Venezuela, they have to have a reason. They have to have a narrative. The
question I have is, what are they doing in Venezuela, and why?
Well, I'll tell you what they're doing in Venezuela. They are attempting regime change. Nicolas Maduro is a horrible human being. He is a dictator. He is anti-American. He has destabilized the entire region. But they can't call it regime change because that, in turn, would require congressional approval.
So then the other
thing is, I want to, there is a lot of bipartisan concern about this. And I think the Republicans on Capitol Hill who are raising concerns, you know, their voices are pretty crystal clear in all of this. I should note that the admiral that you're talking about, he's going to be testifying about his side of this story this week, tomorrow. So let's play with the Republican Congress people who've been critical of this, what they've been saying lately.
There is a question of the legality of bombing people who are shipwrecked or incapacitated. I frankly think it's absolutely illegal.
We don't kill 2 survivors who are not posing an imminent threat to anybody. Doesn't sound good. And if somebody actually did this, they should be held accountable.
Our men and women get in situations where they may be blown out of the water, and we're putting our forces at risk if we're setting or lowering the bar for actually honoring the rules of engagement. Our reputation matters, and the bar that we set, you can argue, is going to be the top level of expectation for our peers and for our allies and our adversaries.
So, Harris.
And to go back to what evil Mr. Clean was saying, it's such bullshit. Are we to believe that the military personnel that heard Pete Hegseth say kill them all is just lying? Why the hell would they just lie like that? I'd assume you get in some deep shit for doing some shit like that. And on top of that, do you really think that this admiral with just who just bombed the boat with 2 survivors did it without Pete Hegseth's consent, without the order or approval of Pete Hegseth? Like, that's just, it just sounds like a lie. We all know it's a lie. He's throwing him under the bus. I want to hear from that admiral, actually. He's supposed to be testifying, which would be today, actually. Just what we know and see of Pete Hegseth publicly, we all know his drunk dumbass likely said kill them all. And I mentioned this before. Conservatives or Republicans have this weird alpha male obsession. This is part of the issue. They want to dress up and have their little guns around them and talk tough, when we all know they're a bunch of wusses. Like I've said, I've never seen a conservative, never, that wasn't a little wimp. It's all fake portrayals. It's all part of the stupidity that caused something like this to happen. Pete Hegseth thinks he's effing G.I. Joe.
And I mean, they're pretty clear that this is not about the drug. Nobody wants to defend drug traffickers, but what they're doing is defending Americans who might be put in similar situations.
Well, I'm glad you said that no one wants to defend drug traffickers, because that's what it seems that the Democratic Party is doing.
What about
this
these
is the
Republicans?
same thing they did with the Maryland father of 4.
But what about these Republicans, Rand Paul, Don Bacon, Tom Tillis? You heard
these are the same characters that will always do this. But the reality is, this is all manufactured. This is all manufactured. If you listen to you and if you listen to some of these other people, you think they're taking out Theo's fishing boat or a Royal Caribbean cruise. These are designated
Did you listen to anything that was said in those clips?
Designated narco-terrorists that are coming to this country.
Did you listen to anything that was said in the clips?
Yes, I did.
Did you listen, as Tom Tillis says,
and it's all
our men
whataboutism.
And women,
they have
hold
no
on,
facts.
no, not whataboutism.
Yes, it is.
He says our men and women get into situations where they may be blown out of the water.
May.
And we are putting our forces at
Let's
risk
talk about what's
if we're
actually
setting or lowering the bar for actually honoring rules of engagement.
That's all great, but that's all hypothetical. Let's talk about what's actually happening.
Can we just can we just take a beat?
You have the Department of War
take a beat
briefing
and
these members.
Address the basic, this is not a partisan dispute, right?
Not at
That's
all.
one of the reasons I played this, because it's not about partisanship. It's about how do we want to be treated on the world stage. And I assume
and when you ask
that
our
you care
European
about
allies,
how Americans,
they're celebrating what this president is
hold
doing.
On a second.
Because to Anna's point,
Harrison,
it's protecting Europe.
That
and if
was
you ask
also
the American people,
hold on, that's also in question.
Yes.
There was reporting just a couple of weeks ago that the British has stopped sharing intelligence with us
exactly right.
because they were concerned about the legality of these strikes. So, but again, put that aside for just a moment. Do you think it is a legitimate concern whether or not, we don't know exactly all the details, but whether or not there was something done in this instance that might have been a violation of the law? Are you concerned about that at all?
if there were violations, that will of course come out, but that is not what's happening.
But if there are violations, would that concern
The
you?
same would have been true when Obama was striking people left and right, and I didn't see CNN or anyone else complaining then. We all have to have a standard. We have the laws on the books.
Every single night.
We have the laws on the books.
And the answer is that Obama's drone strikes were incredibly controversial. They were covered extensively by CNN, by all the mainstream outlets.
And I didn't hear a single
I'm not sure you were
Democrat
around
complain.
for it. I was around for it. It was controversial.
I was in
okay? Right. That's what I thought. It was controversial at the time.
And there were
it's
Democrats
not
that
as
did
if this
complain
is
about
not
that.
something that I think there's clear bipartisan concern about this, because again, when we talk about war is not just a one-sided thing.
That's exactly
right. It
right.
is something that we can be subject to as a nation. And we create these rules. We created the rules. And then for us to violate them, I think that is why you're seeing some Republicans concerned.
Well, Abby, you
1 second, JJ, the jet plane. Bert is such an idiot. He said, I didn't hear CNN push back against Obama and then said, oh, yeah, well, I was in middle school. Like, these people are so disingenuous. Bert, that idiot that was just talking with the shitty haircut, like, all these Republicans never come to actually talk about the issue and the morality or strategy. They come ready to be partisan, hacks, prepared lies and deflection in this little book you can see on this table. He said Dems are defending drug smugglers. Again, why? Why would we do that? Why would we want that? You know, and on top of that, you nor anyone else knows what's on those damn boats. And again, for the 100th time, Venezuela's drugs go to Europe. A tiny fraction ends up here in the U.S. It has nothing to do with this. Mexico is where the fentanyl comes from, with precursors from China. He knows this, but he has to lie. He has to lie if he wants to be able to sit on Big Bird's lap and get told that he's a good old boy. And Abby's completely right. This kind of behavior by our military leaders only puts our soldiers in harms when it comes to be the other way around. I didn't think about it, but it's true. If we play dirty with the tactics we're using, what stops other countries or enemies throwing out their moral code when it comes to the U.S. soldiers? It's literally putting our military in danger. Right? Same with the UK not giving us intel in the Caribbean, which of course would help keeping our military safe. Like,
we're spot on. Listen, in the end of the day, the rule of the law has to be paramount. It has to be paramount. And it has to be the rules of engagement that we want applied to the other side, but that will also be applied to us. And right now, it is sad to see where we are. It used to be when Republicans were in charge of the administration. I was assured that, even folks like Dick Cheney would understand where the line was as it relates to war crimes and not stepping over that line. Right now,
but you realize President Trump in the last 24 hours,
nicely of the dead.
President Trump in the last 24 hours has made it very, very clear that he himself had nothing to do with it.
It's CYA right now in the White House.
I mean,
this is complete CYA.
This is complete CYA. Can I tell you what I think is going on here? I think Trump thought that he could scare Maduro out of Venezuela. That if he started bombing from, sending bombs to some Venezuelan boats, if he started sending some USS carriers to the coast of Venezuela, Maduro, like many dictators before him, would be afraid, figure out how he could take his money, his family, get on a plane and flee to some place in exile for the rest of his life. It hasn't worked. And so now we are facing the very reality of, okay, now Donald Trump and this government is completely invested in getting Maduro out. We've got 1/4 of the arsenal of the U.S. Navy parked off the coast of Venezuela.
Protecting American interests.
What is the American interest? Oil?
Drugs pouring into this country and killing us?
Most drugs do not come through Venezuela. Then why aren't you bombing Mexico?
So we closed the southern border, and that did a really good job. Stop. That's a ridiculous argument.
You stop.
No, that's a ridiculous argument.
No, you're the one being ridiculous.
The president you advocated for 4 years, Joseph R. Biden, allowed our border to be open.
Gaslight me.
I'm not gaslighting. Did Joe Biden let in tons and tons and tons? Well, tell that to the families of fentanyl families who have died.
No fentanyl comes from Venezuela.
It comes from the southern border to the border.
No Mexico.
Hold on a second.
If your argument that drugs are not coming from Colombia or Venezuela to America.
Oh, I am going to argue that no fentanyl is coming from Venezuela.
Talk to the DEA.
No, you are wrong. You are lying to the American people. You are part of the fabricating a narrative that doesn't exist.
Hold on a second.
Well, your day job is The View, so let's talk about fabricating.
And you have no day job. You just lost yours.
Harrison, you are wrong.
I'm not wrong.
Yes,
you're
you
wrong.
are.
Because you just mixed up a whole...
guys, I think I have to get out of here and call the cops. I just saw slaughtering. Diablo. Guys, where's Live PD? I just saw a murder on Sesame Street. He got cooked. Well done. She didn't even eat the dish after. She just threw that shit out. He pobrecito. He tried to own her. Oh, you work at The View for a day job. And she hit him with, you don't even got a day job. Damn, even he giggled at that one. He knows. Oh, and I know it has nothing to do with the segment, but these little drama hits keep the blood going, keep you engaged. And hey, if you learn politics while you're at it, I do think you need a balance with this kind of stuff, though. You don't learn anything. But damn, like with the petty insults, this guy is so rude and disrespectful. Why get so personal? Like, it has nothing to do with that. You're just trying to lie for Daddy Trump, and she's just trying to give basic facts of the situation. You're gonna hit her with a petty insult. You work at The View. Like, where do you work for your day job? Like, what are you talking about? These people are so disgusting. But anyway, she's right again. What's so stupid about this idiot's argument, Bert, is, again, if they were drug smugglers, you moron, coming to the U.S., why not capture them, cabrón? Question them. Learn more about their operations or whatever. Why would you just kill them? Does that really seem like the better outcome that would produce less drugs coming into the U.S.? Like, but again, he knows this isn't about drugs. We all know that. That's why they purposely aren't capturing anyone. This idiot Bird's just a mouthpiece, just reading off talking points from his little book there. You can have a middle schooler do his job. He brings nothing to the table. No original thought, nothing.
Whole bunch of stuff there.
No, I didn't.
Where does fentanyl come from?
It comes from many places.
Where does the
Where does
90% of the fentanyl that comes into
coming through the southern border?
Where does it come from?
In which the Democrats allowed.
So where does it come from?
The Democrats allow the
does
southern border to be open.
Does it come from Venezuela
yes
or
no?
not?
It comes from many places. Do
Where
you
does
know
it
for a
come
fact
from?
that fentanyl is not coming from Venezuela?
Okay.
To his point, though.
So
Abby,
Arthur.
So you're an expert on where the drugs are coming
Arthur,
from.
hold on a second. There's the reason I'm asking you this is because
You're telling me 0% of fentanyl
I'm trying to
that comes
gauge.
into
You know
the
what I'm
United
trying to
States comes
gauge?
from
Do you know what I'm trying to gauge? I'm trying to gauge whether you're willing to just state basic facts, you're willing to listen, and it sounds like you're not willing to do either of those things in this moment.
You can't even say that fentanyl can and does come from Venezuela.
Hold on a second. What Anna said was that a majority.
It doesn't come.
Are you going to listen or not?
Are you going to?
A majority of the fentanyl.
He called himself. Watch your tongue there, Bert. Know your place. It's her show. He almost said, are you going to listen? This guy is a disrespectful little brat. Who raised this fool? It must have been Scott Jennings. Has to be. Scott Jennings is his dad.
Comes from Mexico. Is that true or false?
Let's say it's true, but Abby, here's where the problem comes in.
Hold on, Arthur.
It's the fentanyl gets cut, the cocaine gets cut with the fentanyl.
Arthur, hang on a second. Arthur, hang on a second. Let's say it's true or false. It is true that a majority of the fentanyl comes from Mexico.
Correct.
Here's the other thing that is true.
That's true.
It is also true that a majority of the cocaine that comes to the United States is not coming through the Caribbean Channel.
Correct.
So I'm curious about whether you're willing to acknowledge facts or not, or if you're just more committed to your talking points.
If our intelligence community is saying that these are narco-terrorists with the desire to come to America and to bring drugs into this country, it is within the president's
provide a shred of evidence to that point?
Yes.
Have you talked to members of Congress who have had these classified briefings?
Should they not provide evidence that those drugs that they know for a fact that those drugs were coming to the United States? There are a lot of legitimate questions about whether that is true.
You
had Rand Paul, a Republican, saying that the distance between Venezuela and Miami is so great that there is no way that these little fisher boats would end up in Miami. So these are legitimate questions.
I'm not saying the questions can't be asked.
There are factual issues with your assertion that the fentanyl crisis is being caused by Venezuela, when we know for a fact that that is not the case.
If you were going to stand here today
to
and say that Venezuela is not
really says
responsible
more about your commitment
for
to
drugs
talking points than it
eviscerating
says about your
populations.
commitment
So
to
if you
the
want to
facts.
defend Maduro and the country of Venezuela,
because we got a lot more going on, but I don't want to argue
I don't think
about
you want to
talking
be defending
points.
Maduro.
I want to argue
I don't think you want to be
about facts, and there is not a single person at this table, my friend, who is arguing in defense
you
of
are doing
Maduro.
more to defend
so please do
whether or
not
not
say that.
Venezuela
We're going
is
to pause
sending
the
drugs to this
conversation and we're going to go on to the next topic.
Oh my God, guys. I would be so embarrassed. I would be so ashamed of myself. I've never seen Abby talk to someone like that. Straight up like a effing child. He just refused to be just honest about basic facts and just won't listen, runs his mouth like an insolent child. He's so effing rude. So many of these Republicans behave like this. I don't think he'll be back on the show after this episode, or a long time before he's back. You don't see little Shermichael anymore because of something. He would never answer the question. That's what he would do, and says things along the line, I don't want to talk about it. I don't care about this. This fool just goes the straight up lying route. Just lie, deflect, conflate, and just basic facts. Guys, over 80%. You don't have to believe me. Look it up on your phone. It takes 5 seconds. Fentanyl comes from, over 80% of the fentanyl comes from Mexico. Why aren't we bombing Mexico? Why aren't we invading Mexico? It just doesn't make any sense. Nor do I want us to do that either. That's why he doesn't want to answer Abby's question about where the drugs are coming from. He tried to conflate them. Well, we closed the border. Idiot. Something over 80%, I think maybe even 90% are smuggled by Americans. Just amazing. Idiots like this just shouldn't even be invited on the show. He has nothing to say. Just throwing petty insults at Anna, like, oh, you work at The View. Like, this guy's a joke. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Please leave a like, subscribe. Really helps the channel. Really helps push the message out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.